Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm MP, and we just bought a boat that needs a little bit of work done.
We are both rookies when it comes to boat ownership and carpentry, so this is going to be a steep learning curve.
Luckily, we found an amazing team of shipwrights who accepted the mission of bringing our boat back to life, and are now rebuilding Yabá with hand tools, ancient knowledge, and a lot of passion.
Join us on this thrilling journey and wish us luck. Well, these planks have been cut for the forward watertight bulkhead. They're busy preparing some for the aft watertight bulkhead, which will be in between the galley or just aft of the mainmast. They're going to select some wood over there, but I'm going to have a look inside because they're actually building the columns for the forwards bulkheads. So that is actually happily made out of scrap wood, which has come from parts of wood that I used for the boat. I think specifically they came from beams. So they are 5 by 10 centimeters. So unfortunately, the weather isn't always on our side. Even though Brazil is a magnificent, sunny, very sunny and warm country, we do have the occasional downpour, and when it rains, it just slows down all the work. But luckily the workshop's a bit sheltered, which means we can at least get some wood prepared for when it stops raining. I've made sure there's no fresh water getting caught anywhere, so when the deck's been put on, we can start caulking the deck, or at least waterproofing it, so that we can also start caulking the hull. It's a slow afternoon. A few things are being done, like painting and a bit of preparing in the workshop, but nothing more. So we're just going to wait for it to be sunny again and get back to work after that. So if you can recognize where I am in the boat right now, good job to you, because even I can't recognize it, or at least I've lost my orientation. So what's happening is, this is the entrance from upstairs to here. So the stairs used to be here, except all this has been removed so that we can replace this beam, but also that we can put the double watertight bulkhead here. Now, as this is going to be an open living space, secret, you don't know yet, this is all going to go away. So that wall, which used to be a storage and used to be the first head when you come in on the left, on the port side. Now if you have a look here, you can also see that these planks are quite bad, so these are also going to be replaced. Now they do look quite nice still. Let's see if I can get the sun out of you there. They are still quite nice over here, so hopefully we can do something with them later. They're very thick, I think 6 or 7 centimeters thick. But they're not going to serve this same purpose anymore. So I think that's the last we're seeing of that wall, including that little nav table, because the inside of the wall is a bit broken, and we've had this little idea that it might be nice to keep it open, but we're not sure yet, but we'll see about that. But either way, that's going away for now, and if we like it bare and open, we'll keep it that way, but we might like it, oh, and if we don't like it, we're rebuilding it anyway with newer wood.
Well, life has nearly killed me, and my mind has put me on the edge. Life has nearly killed me, and my mind has put me on the edge. Though I can barely crawl, I've got to walk where these angels' feet are tread.
Alright, so we are now very far away from our shipyard.
No.
No, literally, the Yabá is just behind that building over there. And we actually never came this far because we were so busy.
This is Gustavo, a friend of ours that is a naval engineer, and he's helping with some stuff with Yabá. And
Some stuff, everything.
yeah, and he brought us here so we could meet his boat. Bravo.
We're neighbors, we never knew that.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So it's a wooden boat with fiberglass.
Yeah, they used the strip planking way to build it, so it's wooden on the interior, and then they made some layers of fiberglass with epoxy. And 2 weeks ago we brought from Itaipu to here. It's more than
Foz do Iguaçu.
Foz do Iguaçu.
Yeah, the very famous falls we have here.
Yeah, she was really close to it, and after 800 and some kilometers, we are here.
By truck.
Yeah, by truck, of course. And now we'll bring her back to the sea.
Yeah.
Nice.
So he's also building the boat here next to us. And what's very interesting is what we find is all these boats here get lifted the same way as Yabá on the crib, and then they get lifted.
Even though they have the keel.
We bring it here with the cranes, those hard cranes. And so here we are.
Nice.
And they have fiberglass boats here, steel boats and wooden boats, so that's very interesting.
My boat. The project is Half Tonner 31. It's a Dutch project from the 70s, and back on the 80s they built 8 boats of those in Porto Alegre, Rio Grande do Sul. Then this was the 8th boat to be built, the last one. I like it because you make all the mistakes on the first ones, and this they was already knowing what to do.
What do you think of the galleon fee in this boat size?
I'm so happy. The fridge is huge. It's like so
No, the galley
cool.
is huge.
And everything is huge. It's amazing. I'm super excited.
Take it. It even can be a handle when it's shaky. But you also have a big table, and you also may fold it down, and those come here and became a huge bed.
Nice.
So it's very practical.
So if you have a look over here, we're actually starting to make the double watertight bulkhead here. This is the foremast, so it's just behind it. But this is all still loose because it's a wet day today, and we don't want to start putting these wet bulkheads, well, dry bulkheads, in a wet area, and there's still a bit of sawdust under it. So we're just taking these measurements for now. Once these have been done, they're all going to be placeable but not nailed or fastened onto these columns, because I want to give it a good clean still, make sure it's dry. Probably even going to put some tar underneath it, because if we do it correctly, we will never need to access this again, and whatever is under or inside these bulkheads will be closed forever. So it'd be nice to put a nice layer of protective sealant on it, and when it's busy drying, and I'll give it a really good vacuum, a good dry, and when it's dry and clean and sawdust free, we'll start putting this all together, and then it can be corked shut, because when it's corked shut, there shouldn't be any more dirt or water coming into it. So it has been like a month now that we've not been able to get our hands on any wood, as it's raining where the mills are, which means they can't work with many of the tools. But anyway, for us it's been a hell, because we're trying to find what to do to still make progress. What we could do in the meantime while we were waiting for wood is get our hands on some 4 centimeter thick planks or boards, which meant we could start making this watertight bulkhead, which is amazing, and I'm very happy we could actually do this. But in order for us to start building the walls over here, the lowest plank, the one that goes from here to here, has to be an 8 centimeter thick plank, which is very hard to get our hands on, especially with all those mills being slowed down because of the weather. Finally got our hands on some, and that's going to be arriving soon. Then we can continue making the rest. So the works can start again. The mission number 1 is to fix this beam. Now you can see it's been cut off at both ends already, is where it was rotten, and what was needed to be removed to remove the deck and some other parts as well, to add the shear plank. Now what we've decided is the middle part is actually still quite good. So what's going to happen is we're going to make a joint, cut a bit more of this off. This is why they're seeing how far they have to cut it off. And when that's done, we're going to get some of the new parts that just arrived and make a joint somewhere where we can, and put the beam back to it being functional again. So this beam is ready to be made. There's been the primer put in the joints. The end pieces are ready. The little bed for in the beam shelf is ready. Same on this side. But I'd like to head down to show you what is actually being built right now, which is very cool because it's gonna be very visible when it's on. So this is the lowest plank of the housing area, which is going to hold the whole housing area together. This is an 8 centimeter piece, which is having to be cut based on the curvature of the beams right now. So the top of it has to be completely straight, so the rest of the planks can be built on top of it. So as our circular saw is only 7 1/4 inch blade disc, we cut, well they cut as much as they can with the 7 1/4 disc, measure the cutting line on the bottom of the tree, well the line, put it on the top, and then as you can see there's only a little bit left to cut. So this is actually exactly the same line they drew on the other side, and then we always hope that it's as accurate as possible to make sure the cuts meet somewhere in the middle of the plank. Also, in the meantime that this was happening, the ends of the beam were actually attached. Well, they are still being attached, as you can hear, but you've seen how that's done. You've seen how the joint's made, you've seen how the holes are drilled and how the threaded bar is put through. So we're going to focus on this because this is such a cool thing, because it's such a long plank. The reason why this brasola is actually 8 centimeters thick, unlike the rest of the planks, which are about anywhere at 3.5, 4 centimeters, well, 4 centimeters, let's say, is these are actually going to be fastened onto the beams. So the beams are going to be the ones supporting this brasola, but also this is going to be making sure the beams don't move when the deck is on, and also that when the boat twists and whatever during the sailing, that the housing, so the walls, are sitting on top of this, and this will not move because they are fastened.
brazsolas, the first plank of the housing area, are done, are sanded, are just perfect. What needs to be done now is the joints of them. So they measured already and they already did all the drawings, so now they just have to cut it. Hey there! If you're new to our channel, this is Yabá, our boat that we bought that was needing a little refit, so we lifted to just change a couple of planks, and here we are.
So the lateral planks have been made, the 8 centimeter thick ones, with a joint on the short plank here and another one here on the long one, which we joined. They will become the laterals of the walls. Now here they are busy making the last two, which is going to be one just aft of the foremast, which is going to cover the front of the walling, well, the housing. Oh, I think I just unplugged something. And then the other one is just going underneath where the stairs are going to enter the inside. So the way Elio's doing it is he's measured. He just told me that we're using the full board, but we are still getting rid of nearly all of this bad cracked part. So that's what he was busy measuring just now. Now all we need to do is cut it and make it fair, beautiful, and then we can carry it to the boat.
Joints are made, ready to be installed, but not today because now is the end of the day. So see you next time.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode. We're just going to take this moment on this beautiful day here at the beach with all this mist. All I can picture now is a pirate ship arriving out of the mist, which is my crazy brain. But I want to thank every single one of you for joining us on Patreon or sending us anything through PayPal. So thank you so much, Raphael.
Thank you, Kylie.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Tuxon.
Thank you, Kirk.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, Jack.
And Antonio.
Thank you.
There's a pirate ship behind you.